God's timing is always perfect. Trust his plan even when it feels too late. God's sense of timing seldom aligns with ours, which explains why the Psalms so often echo with the desperate plea, "How long? How long? Why not now, God?" What possible purpose could there be for stretching out this suffering even further? Faith at its heart is partly about trusting that if you had God's full knowledge, if you grasped everything he understands, and if you could see all that he sees, you'd nod and say, "Yes, that makes sense." It requires faith to hold on to that belief, especially when our perspective is so narrow and our pain feels endlessly drawn out. Yet if we could comprehend what God knows and witness what he sees, we'd find ourselves saying, of course, I understand why that had to happen to him, to them, to that nation, those people, that choice, that event. God knew exactly what he was doing. I'm reminded of what the scholar Victor Hamilton once said. God's delays don't always mean God's refusals. For those of you enduring what feels like an endless stretch of divine postponement, delay after delay after delay, rest assured, it's not necessarily a rejection. When your mind whispers that it's too late, that it'll never come to pass, let those thoughts drift in one ear and out the other. God remains steadfast. What he has promised you is still on its way. You might not spot any evidence of it yet. Every situation might scream that it's impossible, but unseen things are shifting. In realms beyond your sight, God is nudging the wrong people aside, arranging the healing, the blessings, the breakthroughs. They're already penciled into your life's timeline. The catch is this: if you could see exactly how it will unfold, it wouldn't require faith at all. God can wield anything and anyone to guide you to where he intends you to be. So, I'm here to encourage someone who walked in today weighed down by self-pity, feeling sorry for yourself, and perhaps you're sitting there, caught in self-pity, feeling as though good fortune never finds you. You're convinced you're always the last one chosen for an opportunity and the first one cast aside, replaying that same mournful tune in your mind. But I'm here to tell you, it's time to change the melody. Lift your head, set aside that tired refrain, and embrace a new song. I am who God says I am. Stop ruling yourself out before you've even stepped forward. Too often, we dismiss our own worth before giving ourselves a chance to shine. I put my trust in a God who can open doors I might not seem qualified to enter. Because I belong to his family, if he intends for me to be somewhere, he'll place me there, no matter the path it takes. Yet here's the truth. Your plans and God's plans don't always match. When your carefully crafted ideas fall apart, don't despair. It simply means that wasn't his design for you. Nothing more. Hold on to this. When life doesn't follow the script you wrote, it's not a failure. It's just not God's way. Don't let desperation creep in. Don't give in to frustration. And above all, don't turn your anger towards God. He didn't draw up your blueprint. You did. We often present God with our schedules and grow cross when he doesn't follow them. But God works in his own way. His paths aren't ours, and his thoughts reach far beyond our own. That's why we must learn to walk by faith. Consider the promises you've let fade, the dreams you've released into the wind. Maybe you've told yourself it's too late to reach that goal, to break free from that struggle, to welcome new life. On an ordinary calendar, it might look impossible, but God says it's still on my timeline. I have a way to bring it to pass. I wouldn't have placed that hope in you if I didn't mean to see it through. So as you move through your day, whisper this: Father, thank you for what you've begun in me. You'll carry it to completion. It may feel too late in my eyes, but I know it's not too late for you. Thank you for these unexpected gifts, blessings that bloom out of season. Let me remind you, your timeline rests in God's hands. He knows where he started with you and where he's guiding you. Walk by faith, not by the limits of what you see, and let go of bitterness towards those around you. It's not their task to raise you up. God himself will lift you when the moment is right. Humble yourself beneath his mighty hand, and in due time, he will exalt you. One final thought. Don't mistake your urgency for God's purpose. That restless need to act now can mislead you into thinking it's his calling. You may feel pressed, I may feel pressed, but God isn't bound by our haste. Your urgency doesn't sway his plan. He may stir something pressing in your life, but rest assured, his timing, not yours, holds the key. When we feel the urge to take matters into our own hands, it often stems from a lack of trust in God's timing. You're absolutely right. God spoke this promise, but it's not happening fast enough, so maybe He needs a little help. We lean in, try to get the ball rolling, and come up with our own solutions. But here's the truth. When we do that, we usually make things worse. Why? Because we don't fully grasp how God works. He operates in supernatural ways, often weaving His plans through natural systems, and His wisdom far exceeds ours. God's power and timing. Let me ask you this: is anything too hard for the Lord? That's not just a question, it's a reminder. No matter how impossible things look, God controls the universe. Just because it feels like He's late doesn't mean He won't come through. Don't let the circumstances fool you. The odds might be stacked against you. The experts might say it's hopeless, but God isn't bound by what we see or predict. So instead of growing impatient, keep believing, keep praying. Every blessing He's promised you will show up right on time. You won't have to chase it down. It'll find you exactly when God has planned. Hope in the impossible. Have you given up hope? Maybe God spoke something into your life, a promise, a dream, and now you're looking at it thinking, there's no way this could happen. Scientifically, emotionally, logically, it just doesn't add up. If that's where you are, you're actually in the perfect spot. When it seems impossible to us, that's when God steps in. He speaks hope into desolation. His word never comes back empty, and His plans for you can't be stopped. He's God. When He says something, it happens. Look at the creation story. He spoke and the world came into being. That same power is at work in your life. Time, our limit, not His will. We get hung up on time because it's all we know. We see it linearly, days ticking by, deadlines looming, and it matters to us. But God, He's not stuck in that. He created time. He's not controlled by it. He looks at everything from eternity while we're caught up in the here and now. Sure, He uses time. Think of the 7 days of creation, the rhythm of the seasons, the cycles of rest He built into the earth. But He's above it all. So when it feels like He's taking too long, remember, His timing isn't ours, and that's a good thing. Trust over control. So yes, when we handle things ourselves instead of trusting God, we complicate everything. We help because we doubt, but God doesn't need our help. He needs our faith. Stop trying to push the ball forward and let Him work. He's got this, and He's got you. Keep holding on because what He's promised is coming, and it's going to be right on time. God is eternal. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. He was, He is, and He will be. Existing beyond the confines of time, His words carry absolute certainty. When God speaks, His promises will come to pass. Yet do not assume this means fulfillment arrives tomorrow. God does not adhere to a conventional schedule or a predictable time frame. Instead, He has blessings in store for you that defy expectation, unscheduled, out of season, and extraordinary. These are gifts that, by human reasoning, should not happen now. The medical report may declare it's too late, financial experts may forecast decline. But that is precisely when God intervenes, proclaiming, "Let me show you who I am." He is not bound by time, untouched by economic shifts, and unhindered by your age, your past, or the challenges you face. He commands the universe. When He speaks, barren wombs spring to life, Red Seas part, illnesses vanish, addictions shatter, marriages mend, and opportunities emerge. Every calling, every stirring in your soul marks the start of a faith journey aligned with His timing, not yours. A life of faith cannot be engineered or forced. You can only step into it, living it out day by day. Trust Him when nothing seems to move. Believe even when the heavens seem silent. Behind the scenes, He is at work, and every blessing marked with your name will find you if you wait with patience. And when it arrives, it will surpass your wildest dreams. Understand this. Your life has purpose, but it unfolds according to His perfect timing. We may not always comprehend His schedule, yet we can rely on His unchanging character. Will we dare to obey with courage, even in the waiting? Know this: if you refuse to embrace the wait, you will miss the fulfillment of His promises. It requires courageous obedience to stand firm until His word comes to life. Through us, He weaves His plans and purposes. Nothing is lost when we entrust ourselves to His timing. He is the God who declares, "I will give you beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning." Only God can redeem the time spent waiting, the moments steeped in hopelessness. He calls us to place our faith in His nature above our circumstances. Nothing is wasted when we wait on the timing of our faithful God to reach its glorious completion.